Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over how to build a basic mix, and luckily it doesn't involve locusts because these things are so loud right now. Anyway, we're going to start with a basic mix. We're going to take the faders, push them all down. This is how I start out all of my junior technicians. I start them with building a basic mix. I don't teach them EQ, I don't teach them compression, I don't make them learn the routing on the console. Alright, so we're going to walk away from the locusts. Hopefully we'll stay away from them. But one of the biggest things that I teach everybody is if you've got bass and a vocal or bass and a melody line, then you can have a track. So in most worship music, obviously it's going to be bring the bass up. That's going to define the root or the bottom note of a chord, the foundation. The melody line is then going to play around on top of that. This is kind of music theory in a nutshell. But so when I'm starting to build a mix and craft a mix, I want to pick the most important things. I need bass, or whatever that bass instrument's going to be, if it's keys or something else similar to that. Maybe it's a pad that you're using, and then that vocal can sit in the mix as well. Once we get that dialed in, then we can start to add the other colors in. The other instruments add color. If it's drums, it's adding rhythmic nature. The way I teach the different instruments is like this. So the drums obviously are keeping the rhythm, and the acoustic guitar is kind of just a pitched hi-hat, if you will. So they're strumming chunka chunka chunka. That's going to be more like a pitched hi-hat. So you get some chord structure, you get a little bit of fill in terms of chord context, but you're also getting rhythm with it. The bass obviously is the root. Keyboard is going to help add color and more chord context, maybe adding some melodic lines here and there. Your electric guitar obviously is kind of the spicy sauce on top. Maybe it could be thickening up the mixture as well, or the arrangement. And so you're going to add those in. Other vocals are tricky because you want to hear them, but you don't want them to take over the lead line. And so you're kind of always trying to feather them in and out of who's got the lead, who's on top, who's background, who's not. When you really get into it, you can do some different EQing and compression things for your background vocals. But for today, we're going to dive in. We're going to push the faders down. We're going to build a basic mix, and we're going to get this new engineer with a smile on their face, having built a mix that we've done all the hard work. We've set all the compression and EQ. We've got all the routing done. They're just going to push the faders up, and they're going to build a mix and see what they get. We can even show them where the reverb is, because that is like the cherry on top. Let's dive in now. Here we go. All right, guys, well, let's dive into this console. So what you're looking at right now is the X32 Edit software. This is a software that allows the computer to connect into the console, and you've got faders. So if I move a fader up on the console, you can see it move up on my screen. If I put these drums up, you'll see them move up and down and all that stuff. So you can track what I'm doing. I'm actually touching the physical console, but I'm just doing a screen capture on my computer. This is a song called Ain't No Grave. It's by Bethel. They recorded it, and Molly Skaggs was singing and leading it. Phenomenal tune, and I was happy with how we did, but we're going to use it as an example here on how I teach my sound technicians of how to build a mix. All right, so all my faders are down, so you can't hear anything yet, but I'm going to start with this is a female-led song, so let's get this going.
There ain't no grave gonna hold my body down.
Bring up bass.
And there ain't no grave gonna hold my body down.
I'm going to add in the overheads on the drums.
When I hear that trumpet sound, I'm gonna rise up out of the ground.
Bring up the background vocal now. We'll get
there ain't no grave gonna hold my body down.
Not too much on that. All right, let's add in some acoustic. Electric. I'm going to bring up pads.
Oh, there was a battle, a war between death and life. And there on the tree, the Lamb of God was crucified. He went on down to hell, and he took back every key. He rose up as a lion, and he's setting all the captives free. There ain't no grave.
All right, I'm bringing up kick drum.
Could hold his body down.
Snare drum.
There ain't no grave.
Now I see a lot of floor tom activities.
Could hold his body down.
Bring up the toms.
When he heard that trumpet sound, he rose up out of the ground. There ain't no grave.
All right, so I want to pause right there. What we've got right now is a mix. It's a basic mix. It's dry mix, so we've got no reverb, no effects, no delay on this. It's just straight signal. There's no room mics. So we don't have a room that we're listening to this in. If this was on a PA in a room, you would have some natural reverb in that room. So for our listening enjoyment, I'm going to bring up our reverb just a little bit to kind of soften this and give us a context of a room, because the snare drum, the vocals, just all around the entire mix is going to open up a little bit as we put it into a room. But what we've done so far is just build a basic mix. We brought up vocal, the lead. We brought up the bass. I go for overheads on the drums because that's going to give us somewhat of an overall picture of what the drum kit's doing. Now, I know that my overheads, I've got the low end cut out of them, so I don't get any kick drum in those. So then I go and I kind of add in the instruments, and then I bring in the kick, snare, and toms kind of towards the end, because I want to see what the band and the vocals mix like with just that little bit of overhead cymbals. So let's go back now. I'm just gonna keep playing the track. I'm gonna add in some reverb and some delay and see if we can thicken this group up here.
Let's
add some reverb. Bring it up to right about here.
No, it couldn't. No, it couldn't. Jesus. We declare it. Here we go. If you walked out of the grave, I'm walking too.
That's a huge difference having that reverb. Here's muted.
If you walked out of the grave, I'm walking too. Let me hear you. If you walked out of the grave, I'm walking too.
Listen to that click on the snare.
If you walked out of the grave,
Dry.
I'm walking too.
Verb.
If you walked out of the grave, I'm walking too.
Bring it up a little bit.
Jesus, if you walked out of the grave, I'm walking too.
Add some delay
Oh,
in here.
if you walked out of the grave, I'm walking too. One more time. If you walked out of the grave, I'm walking too. There ain't no grave gonna hold my
So now the
body
acoustic
down.
guitar player is playing pretty heavy, so I'm going to pull that acoustic back.
There ain't no grave gonna hold my body down.
All right, so that's starting to sound really good now. We've got some reverb on it. We've got some delay in there on the vocals, which if I stop the track, you'll hear it kind of echo a little bit. But overall, the mix is built. So if we do the hard work as the lead tech of EQing and compression, you can sit your most junior engineer down. I did this with my daughter when she was 8 years old, and I said, hey, we're going to build a mix. Bring the vocal up. And I got the vocal to a point where I knew it needed to be. And then I said, all right, let's add some bass. She brought the bass up. And I said, now just listen to it. Is there too much bass? Of course, she said, I don't know, and that's a fine answer. But we started to just add in instruments and see what the color was that each instrument was adding. And then we add in some of the rhythmic features of the drums, and it starts to come together. Now, again, if you're in your room with a PA in a hall, or a sanctuary of some sort, or in your venue, you're going to have some natural reverb. So you may not need to add this much reverb in, but for us to sit and listen to the song, it's a huge difference when it's dry versus wet. So dry being without reverb, wet being with reverb. Now, we're not going to dive into how we pan things, how we do stereo linking, how we do DCAs. We're not doing any of that stuff with the most junior engineer. What I want them to do is feel comfortable with, 16 or 20 faders, whatever the case may be, and they can come in and at a moment's notice, at the last minute, I could say, hey, I've got to run and take care of something. Can you just manage the mix? And they are comfortable then, after a couple sessions, of coming in and they can push the faders and they can listen. And one of the biggest things I tell them, which we don't have the opportunity here because we're not looking at the band, we don't have the visual perspective, but if they look at the stage and they see an instrument and they hear it too much, then they turn it down a little bit. And if they look at the stage and they see somebody playing, let's say, acoustic guitar, and they don't hear it, turn them up a little bit. That's a mix. It doesn't have to be super polished or anything else. You want to build confidence in your most junior technicians. So again, I'm going to leave the reverb and the delay where they are, and I'm going to go again from scratch, and I'm going to rebuild this mix. So let's take all these faders down. We'll do this just in a quick manner, and we'll listen to this track one more time. Here we go. All right, we got things playing, so here's the female vocal.
Down, there ain't no
so much better with reverb. Listen to that.
Gonna hold my body down. And there ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. When I hear that trumpet sound, I'm gonna rise up out of the ground. There ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. Oh, there was a battle, a war between death and life. And there on the tree,
So that was pretty quick. That's just it takes a minute to build a mix, and then you can evaluate. You've got to get them comfortable pushing faders up, listening, push faders where they need to go, listening, but evaluate. Always evaluate. Every time I mix, I always re-listen to my mix because I want to evaluate how did I sound when I was mixing. So as you can see, guys, it's pretty easy at this point in the game to build a mix. We're going to push some faders up. We're going to be cognizant of what we're doing, but we've done the hard work as the lead tech, the lead engineer, but we want to find out who can build a basic mix. They can be an engineer at that point for you. They can be in your rotation. Then you find out who's hungry for more. You teach them compression, EQ, teach them effects and reverbs and delays and stuff like that. And then after that, you get into the people that want to troubleshoot and learn routing, because that becomes pretty tricky, as you know already. But listen, I hope this video has been helpful. If it has, give it a thumbs up, give it a like. If you're not already, subscribe to the channel, click the button below. We're putting out content every week to try and help you make better mixes in your venue. So thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.